You know, O.J. Simpson actually did spend a year, I think it was more than a year, in the county jail before the trial that he was acquitted on, and even spent an extra day in the county jail when Judge Ito had the verdict and said people come back tomorrow because everyone was so shocked that the verdict came in just a few hours. So that extra day, you could almost say he was falsely imprisoned because at that moment he was already acquitted. I don't know if Judge Ito looked at it or not before that, but he had the envelope. That's amazing. But of course, one of the thousands of reasons, or let's say hundreds of reasons, why OJ is absolutely 100% guilty is because he's never mentioned once that he was in that jail for a year. You know, if I was innocent, I was like, well, I went to jail for a year, you know. Never mentioned it once. There are some other things like he would never try on the gloves if he, in fact, did not kill Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Would you put, if you were falsely accused of that, would you have those gloves within 100 feet of you without recoiling and sickness and shock? No. But, you know, he tried them on with a smile because he had an opportunity. But that was a fascinating case. Most people got wrong. The narrative to this day, they say if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. But that's wrong because Johnnie Cochran was not talking about the gloves when he said that. And if he was going to be talking about the gloves, he would have said if they don't fit, because it's not it. It's not one glove. It was two gloves. Plus the jury, they said the gloves had nothing to do with it. One other thing to add about that I alluded to in another video is that the verdict came in so fast, everyone was shocked. So all the pundits, they waited a day before they actually read the verdict. So for 24 hours or so, all the pundits on TV, legal pundits and the national news pundits and everyone else, talking heads, they all believed that OJ was convicted because the last testimony that the jury read, they asked to reread some testimony, and it was from the limo driver that was out in front of OJ's gate at 10:30 or so, and the guy's name, I believe it was Alan Park. But they said, well, because they asked for that, that must mean that he's guilty. But I think they even got that totally wrong. Like the jury asked about that for a totally different reason. But to make a long story short, nobody thought that he was going to be acquitted. I mean, a very small percentage. That's why it was such a shocking reaction to everybody, including Robert Kardashian, who rolls his eyes back like he's about ready to faint. I mean, just Johnnie Cochran, he had his hands on OJ's shoulder. I mean, he's like, yes, like they were just about to be the dream team, the attorneys. They were about ready to be humiliated in the worst way because all those months, which was like basically a year, all that testimony, and then they're going to get humiliated in a couple hours. The jury would have been out for a couple hours, and well, the dream team got him locked up for life. But it didn't work out that way, as you know. And of course, as some would say, that's an injustice there. But as bad as that injustice could possibly be, when he got sentenced years later, and actually did 9 years in prison in Nevada for the so-called robbery, where he was just basically meeting up with some of the guys he's in business and memorabilia with, and they're a bunch of shady characters, and they set him up, and they stole his memorabilia, and he tried to get it back, and they had the video and audio of him trying to get it back, and they called that a robbery. And, you know, he did legit time there. So he did, let's say, a year in county jail in the 95, 96 leading up to the trial, the big OJ trial. Then he did, I believe it was 9 years in Nevada. I mean, that's serious business. And you could argue that if they would have been talking for a plea deal, which I think a plea deal would have been on the table. There's been some talk that Shapiro was pushing for a plea deal. I think F. Lee Bailey said that. Well, F. Lee Bailey's another character. He went to his grave. He died last year, maybe 2 years ago. He would state in public that he believed OJ was 100% not guilty. Now, how can anyone possibly say that? To me, it's amazing. He was really the only person on the dream team that said that throughout the years. Like, that's just so embarrassing, and you wonder how someone could possibly believe that. But I lost my train of thought there on the last thing I was going to say about F. Lee Bailey. But it's a fascinating case. There's lots to talk about the OJ trial. And, you know, the snippets that people get, like it doesn't fit, you must have quit, and all that, and people say, well, he would have never been convicted. All that is wrong. I watched every hour of that. I mean, I was in my 20s back then, and I watched every hour of it.